So wait. Okay. So hi, my name is Nigar Osmanova. Today I'm gonna talk about France's population policy. Uh, so firstly, what's pronatalism? Natalism is also called as pronatalism or pro-birth position. It's a belief that promotes human reproduction. Um, so what is antinatalism? Antinatalist policies are the policies that are against the human reproduction. So today I'm going to talk about the history of France's population. In 1801, France was the most populous nation in Europe, and by 1936, the French population had increased by 50%. But in the same period, the number of people in Italy and Germany had nearly trebled. So by 1938, France began to give monetary and other material benefits to families with children. And in the second half of the 20th century, the high birth rate slowed, and about 1974 fell into a sharp decline, and eventually reaching a point insufficient for the long term maintenance of the population. So, by the early 21st century, France had an average population increase of roughly 300,000 people each year. So the same increase was largely affecting the neighborhood, like neighbor countries. A number of factors combined to reduce the birth rate. How does France policy? How does France policy work? The policies that were put in place to encourage three children families were a cash incentive of 675 euro monthly, like how like it's the nearly minimum wage for a mother to stay off work for 1 year following the birth of her child. So the income tax, based on the more children, the less tax to pay. Then 3 years paid parental leave, like which can be used for fathers and for mothers, and the government paid daycare for children, like who's the under age of 3, and full-time school places, like full for all areas paid by the government. Advantage. So firstly, offering cash to mothers who stayed at home to care for children, payment of up to 160 euro to couples having their third child, and full tax benefits to parents until the youngest child reaches 18, and 30% reduction on all public transport for three-child families, and lastly, pension schemes for mothers. And disadvantage. So the only disadvantage is an unemployment, like it's an overcrowded and uncontrolled number of births, that birth rates that might bring consequences in country's economy, like which is unemployment. So France population is entering an increasingly like critical state with the low fertility rate and the falling birth rate. So where is the France now in terms of population growth? By the help of pronatalist policies, the government of France encouraged to increase the number of population. Um, to add, we can also mention that uh, we can also mention that the state benefits as achievements of France policy. So by the help of the pronatalist policy, the government, I'd say, the government of France encourages to increase the number of population, so people pay more attention to education. Moreover, this helps to reduce the number of unplanned pregnancy, uh, for example, later marriage. So to add, like as I said before, the state benefits as achievement of France policy. So thank you for your attention.